Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into vibrant roots, the surprising secret of yellow carrots. We're taking a little trip down the produce aisle to look at something so totally mundane, you probably pass right by it every single week. But it actually hides a pretty fascinating history. So get ready, because we are definitely going to challenge some of your everyday assumptions.
Okay, let's kick things off with a super simple question. Did you know that yellow carrots actually exist? I mean, picture this. You're walking through your local grocery store, you're grabbing your usual weekly staples, totally minding your own business, and then suddenly, boom, you see it. It completely throws you off, right? It gives you that immediate, wait, what kind of feeling? We are just so incredibly conditioned to expect one very specific look from our veggies that seeing anything else feels almost alien. It literally stops you in your tracks.
Okay, let's really dive into this. Because this exact moment of unexpected discovery, it was beautifully captured by a blogger named Ang in a recent post from their Notes on Dieting series. Ang writes, and I quote, "During my usual grocery run, I was browsing the produce section when I spotted a peculiar carrot. Rather than the standard orange we're used to, this one was a vibrant yellow." I absolutely love this quote because it grounds our whole explainer in such a relatable human moment. Just an ordinary errand, pushing a cart along, turning into this moment of genuine culinary surprise.
Imagine exactly what Aang stumbled upon out there. A totally colorful anomaly sitting right there in the produce aisle. Think about why this is just so striking to us. It completely shatters our everyday expectations of what a carrot should fundamentally look like. I mean, since childhood, we've had this hardwired mental image, right? Carrot equals orange. Bugs Bunny chomps on an orange carrot. The snowman's nose, it's an orange carrot. So when nature throws a vibrant, sunny yellow curveball at us right there next to the cucumbers, it forces us to stop, look a little closer, and ask some really fun questions about where our food actually comes from.
And here's where the story takes a massive, massive historical twist. We've got our modern expectations, bright, uniform orange everywhere. But the historical reality? Carrots were originally purple and yellow. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. The vibrant orange vegetable that we consider the absolute gold standard today is actually the newcomer to the root vegetable party. If you lived centuries ago, holding an orange carrot would have totally made you the odd one out. Crazy, right? So naturally, you're probably wondering, how on earth did we get here? How did orange basically take over the world? Well, it was all thanks to what we can call the Dutch Orange Revolution. The surprising truth is that the standard orange variety we see literally everywhere today didn't just pop out of the ground by sheer happy accident. Actually, it was meticulously engineered through selective breeding by Dutch growers. They took those early, differently colored roots and cultivated them over generations to champion that specific, bright orange hue that we all know and love today. Let's just trace this amazing journey chronologically for a second. Starting way back in the past, our ancestors are munching on those original purple and yellow varieties. Then we hit the Dutch era, which is this huge turning point where agricultural pioneers began intentional selective breeding specifically for the orange color. And finally, we arrive at present day, resulting in total orange dominance on supermarket shelves worldwide. It is just a stunning reminder of how completely human cultivation can totally reshape our agricultural reality over time.
But is color the only thing that changed during that whole Dutch agricultural revolution? Well, after experiencing that initial shock in the produce aisle, our blogger Aang didn't just stop at a fun history lesson. Nope, they did what any curious mind does nowadays. They launched an AI investigation to uncover the differences beyond just the color. Aang literally tasked an AI to generate a detailed comparison between these ancient yellow varieties and our modern orange staple just to see what was really going on beneath the surface. Now, what's really interesting about this data breakdown is that it reveals some pretty fascinating differences. Aside from the super obvious color difference and a few subtle nutrient variations, look at sweetness and juiciness. The data reveals that orange carrots are significantly sweeter and juicier than their yellow counterparts. So it turns out this wasn't just some cosmetic makeover. The Dutch growers were actually breeding a fundamentally different and arguably much more appealing eating experience.
So to sum it all up, the orange carrot is sweeter, juicier, and visually dominant. And this is a massive takeaway. It means the sheer prevalence of the orange carrot today isn't just a historical accident or some random quirk of farming. It directly ties to a superior taste profile that just happens to be packaged in a highly vibrant, instantly recognizable appearance. The Dutch essentially created an agricultural blockbuster. I mean, it's a vegetable that appealed heavily to multiple senses all at once, making it basically impossible to compete with.
So the crucial point here is, why does this actually matter to us right now, walking through the grocery store today? Well, it brings us to the number one sense we unknowingly prioritize when making our food choices: our sight. This simple story about finding a yellow carrot isn't just about agricultural history anymore. It's evolved into a really fascinating look into human psychology and our deeply ingrained consumer habits. We are incredibly visual creatures when we shop for sustenance.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact concept. Eng's post captures this perfectly, saying we visually taste the foods way before we even take a bite. And man, that is so incredibly true. The appearance and color of our food heavily influence our dietary choices. It dictates what looks fresh, what looks sweet, what looks healthy, and ultimately what ends up right there in our pantries. The vibrant orange won out centuries ago because it signaled something sweet, juicy, and delicious to our brains long before it ever hit our taste buds.
Which really leads me to this final lingering thought for you today. Think about your own habits for a second. How much does color dictate what goes into your own grocery cart? Are you reaching for the bright red apples, the perfectly orange carrots, the deep green spinach, solely because of the instant visual cues they're sending your brain? The next time you walk down the produce aisle, I challenge you to look past the standard colors. Pay attention to your biases, and hey, maybe even hunt down one of those peculiar, vibrant yellow carrots for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. It's been an absolute blast. Keep asking questions and keep learning.